It's taken a bit longer than I expected to make this video, but this is going to be my video on my surprise experience that I've had with around 300 milligrams of the non-mescaline hydrochloric salts. These salts were obtained from the isopropanol washes that are used to clean the mescaline hydrochloric salt. The mescaline is insoluble in the isopropanol, so I evaporated the isopropanol and I'm left with these reddish orange salts. So an hour after I took the 300 milligrams, I had very cold extremities. My hands and feet were very cold, and I had a very slight amount of euphoria, but it wasn't the normal rolling or mescaline effect that you get from the normal mescaline experience. There was a small amount of time dilution, and I had lots of energy. It felt pretty similar to how the 100 milligrams with 200 milligrams of Harmala's feels. I've taken that dosage a few times now, and I'm fairly sure it's not mescaline, since at even a smaller dose, the euphoria with mescaline is pretty high. Within 2 or 3 hours, I had a lot of great focus, clean energy. I'm not shaking or anything. I had some very minor visuals, but there was no negative effects that I could notice. And the only thing that mattered was the task that I was doing. Nothing else mattered. It seemed to wash away worries, and everything's in the background. And the only thing that matters is what's right in front of you. And around the 4-hour mark, I started to consider the experience coming to an end. I had a cold sweat, which is pretty common when my experiences end. It's pretty common for me to have a cold sweat. It traditionally marks the end of my experience. And I thought that the energy would start to wind down. But within 30 minutes, I had a second wave of energy. And then I started to think I would just have the normal 16-hour experience where I just have constant clean energy without shaking for a long duration. At this time, I didn't have any more cold sweats, and my hand and feet were not cold. And then now is where I had the surprise experience, where I even made a separate video on sharing this experience, where I'm fairly certain that mescaline is not the only active ingredient that provides the experience with tea. So around the 5-hour, 20-minute mark, I had what I could best describe as a limitless moment, where all my synapses clicked and all my thoughts were very well articulated and refined and clear. I didn't have that chaotic mind where everything's racing and everything. I didn't have any loops or any time loops or anything. And I gave a lot of thought on the direction I want to take in my life. I pretty much set out to really understand these plants in the biological sense, with their alkaloid production, with their growth patterns, as well as their chemistry. And from here, the trip became very introspective. I thought a lot about what I'm doing and what I'm sharing, and I'm pretty much dead set on doing water-only extractions, and at worst using ethanol. It's not that I'm necessarily against chemicals, but the more I research the past and traditional extractions and preparations, I feel more and more that the original shamans, not like the new age or some more popular shamans, but the more traditional family past tradition where everything's done in secret. I feel they had a more rudimentary understanding of chemistry, and their extractions and manipulations of plants and different temperatures and processes during the extraction. I think they had a larger idea, and they would use what we consider to be inactive plants to either change certain chemicals or even remove certain toxins. But that information seems to be lost or either not shared or not well understood. I could be wrong, and this could all just be a pseudo-intelligence that I have from a trip. And again, this is just my experience, but I feel that I really want to chase down this idea. In the past, I shared the idea of using the carrots to convert harmaline to THH, and that's the idea that I got when I was in the experience, that they use other master plants to change the chemistry somehow of certain teas. And then I go on. This is all written while still under the influence. I had a very clear, and it wasn't gibberish or anything. And in every plant, there's isomers and derivatives of the main alkaloids. And generally with extractions, especially like silo, there's an extremely pure extract, which has its purpose, of course, but I feel that we lose a part of the experience itself that we get with tea. My very first experience with cacti was among the strongest I've ever had. I used a PC cactus, which traditionally everyone sees as a very weak and sometimes inactive cactus. But this experience was almost DMT-like. It was very intense, it was very fast, colorful. But I'm sure if I had extracted and had a pure extract, it would be fairly low content, since it's pretty well established as a weak clone. And then I would just keep playing deeper into this thought. I noticed that green science or green extractions are in the forefront in recent years, mainly due to toxicity and environmental reasons, but with more recent papers on cancer treatments. The papers all show that a full spectrum fraction using water or alcohol shows a much higher efficacy, either killing or stopping the spread or growth of the tumor cells or cancer cells compared to pure compounds. And with water being the universal solvent, I'm pretty sure that we could all make a fairly pure extract without using solvents, despite how much we consider it food safe. Like with the Oasis extraction, someone messaged me in a DM sharing that they did it with a tea without the use of alcohol, and they were able to get the quartz-like crystal extraction. So that'll be my next attempt. But even with different salts, I'm sure there's different methods of getting a fairly pure compound. And like with all these ideas, I've already been thinking about it for a few months, and with different talks on different forums. But I'll be slowly working up and buying different ingredients and material to start making my own TLC plates. everyone suggests buying ready-made TLC plates so that they have the UV reaction, but that's extremely cost prohibitive for me. They're fairly expensive. Even if I were to import from China, the taxes would just kill any cost benefit that I would get. So I've researched, and I'm fairly sure I can make my own plates and then use a stain to identify where the compounds are. I'll have a separate RF value using what I have considered to be fairly pure. I'll see if there's a different spot on that line. But that's going to be my next direction with this channel. Besides testing a few other ideas, I'll be starting to slowly work on getting an understanding on TLC work and spotting and all that. I don't have any experience, so it's going to be similar to my other videos where it's more a do it and learn hands-on. I'm not sure if there's any interest in those videos, but I'll consider making videos on how I'll be making the plates and then the stains and all that. And then, like, over time, I expect to get more experience with this, with the TLC plates. I'll start slow and do harmalas to split the harmalas, since that'll be easy to see without even staining. I'll test different materials. I'll test I'll test different salts that I get with extractions. I'll test more and more and get more experience. And with time, I expect that experience to actually help with another idea that I have, where I have this idea where I can place a pure compound, and similar to how I did with the mimosa extract onto the Lafalfora seedlings, where it caused some mutations on some of them. I actually think I could place, let's say, LSA onto a cactus or any other plant, and the biosynthesis and the chemical process in the plant could convert that to a different compound. That, again, is an extreme idea that I don't think I've ever heard anyone else mention. But with the TLC experience that I get, I should be able to test that in the future. So let's say I place LSA salts on this cactus, and then through the TLC I can test if it's still LSA or some other compound. I do still need to research a lot and see what the best candidates for the plants are, but that's an idea that I've had while under the experience that I've had. And this went on for a while. I had lots of different insights and ideas, and that's not uncommon with psychedelics, but it seemed extremely profound considering there was no visuals and no euphoria, which is common with mescaline. So at around 12-hour mark, that was within the 8-hour mark, at the 12-hour mark, I decided to try to go to sleep. Actually, I skipped a step. Yeah. So yeah, that was the main introspective trip, and that was at the 5-hour mark. At around the 8-hour mark, I had a visual distortion. I couldn't at the time explain what it was exactly, but the limitless effect was a bit weaker, but it was still active. I still had very easily accessible memories and thought patterns. And at around this time, like I mentioned, I had a bit more ideas, which I've shared here. And when I'm in the trance and in this communion with God, I generally thanked God quite a bit. Sometimes in our day-to-day life we tend to get stressed out and tend to forget and just complain about life in general. But I thank God for my advantages in life and try to seek some guidance. Sometimes I tend to feel like I'm off track, or I shouldn't do certain things or share certain ideas. But it tends to give me a sense of purpose, and I feel that I'm on the right path. And even if the experience itself isn't insightful, sometimes I personally get good ideas and good experiences from completely unrelated topics. So maybe someone else could learn something from my experience as well. At the 8.5 hour mark, I was able to describe the visual distortion that I had. It was similar to being at the beach or the pool all day, where your eyes start to burn from the chlorine or the salt. And that was pretty much it. I don't have much interest in just the pure compounds. Like I mentioned in the past, the extractions are more for quantitative measure to see if my ideas work at all, and to be more self-sufficient in the dosing, so I don't have to dose excessively, and the best method for cultivation so that it's more self-sustainable. Just like with peyote whey, it's not mescaline that's the experience, and with the ayahuasca, it's not just DMT and MAOI. It's the entire experience combined. It's the growing and the harvest and the processing and the studying the plant and trying to understand it more. And at the very peak, it's just the experience that you have when you consume it. In the past, and I'm sure many people have also had this, you tend to use drugs to find happiness or to find answers or something. But I've seen that we should all just work on ourselves a bit more and try to understand why we do certain things and try to ask God for our guidance. In Daime churches, in ayahuasca churches, there isn't really a line for people to use this drug, and with coca tea, there isn't really lines to start using the tea other than to remove altitude sickness. But there are many lines in the streets for cocaine. And like during this experience, I thought that's the short and easy path, and it came like similar idea in Christianity, where there's an easy path and the hard path. The easy path is with the devil, and the payment for he wants here is your addiction as the payment. And I had a longer experience, but that's just like the main idea for everything. And then to widen down the experience, at around the 12-hour mark, I tried to go to sleep, and my mind just kept racing, and I couldn't really rest. It took around 2 hours for me to try to relax enough to go to sleep. I kept moving and being restless. And during this time, when I was calming my mind, in the distance I would see a DMT-like fractals on different objects, and the most striking one that I had that I remembered when I woke up was fractals on a bare face. These fractals I'm not going to attribute directly to the non-mescaline salts, since after my peyote with just 1 gram skins and MAOI, I started to get closed-eyed visuals. so I'm not going to directly associate the experience with that. And it took around 2 hours for me to sleep. Right before I actually got around to sleeping, I had some cold sweats and restlessness right before, and the closed-eye visuals started to increase quite a bit, and they increased in speed of changes, and they even like zoomed in closer to me. And yeah, that was pretty much the entire experience. That night, I don't think I had a dream, since I wrote this report on the final hours right as I woke up. So I don't think I had a dream, since I couldn't remember it or write it down at the time. And yeah, it's another fairly long video. I got a little off track in the middle, but I'm fairly certain this is not from mescaline, since 300 milligrams of mescaline would have a lot of euphoria and a lot of visuals, like colorful rainbow effect and breathing with waving effects and textures. Even just 50 milligrams with MAY that I've done a few times gives a lot of euphoria, and I had very little euphoria only in the beginning. And I also didn't take any tea a few days beforehand, so it's not to influence the effects. So yeah, in the future videos, I'll be working more on the TLC. I'll be slowly buying my TLC plates material, the silica and the plates, the glass plates and everything, along with the stain. I recently got a donation from a repeat donator, and that was 12 Adam. Thanks a lot. It really does help a lot. And I also got another donation from a new donator, Living Mongoose, and it really helps a lot. The exchange rate makes your donations really spread out a lot, and it's very helpful. Since my channel is more on experimenting, there's a lot of losses, especially since I don't have the highest experience. It takes a bit of messing up and redoing and perfecting each step, and getting different acids and different salting material and even glassware. It was quite a big investment, so I'm really grateful for you guys. And just not leave them out, there was also Impeding Bleeding. He did a huge donation. A big thanks to all of you donators, as well as Eminent Scriber on Instagram. Again, thanks a lot, you guys. It really helps a lot. And if you guys like this video, I'm not going to keep asking for donations, but if you're able to, even a few bucks does help a lot with my channel, since I'm not really selling ideas. I do plan on selling the foliar spray that originally is to increase the alkaloid content. I'll be wrapping up that experiment soon. This either tomorrow or Sunday. I'll finish up drying, and I'll finish up the gassing, and I'll dry them all, and I'll start working on the extraction. And I'll see if the foliar spray, besides the greening effects and the positive growth that it causes from the increased nutrient uptake as well as more effective photosynthesis. I'll see if it does also increase the alkaloid content. So hopefully I get some funds from that. And even if you guys don't donate, I do appreciate all the support I get. If you guys ever have any ideas for something you want to be tested, even if it's fairly far-fetched, if you have a good explanation and a basis and it's within reason that I can actually experiment with it, I'll be more than glad to try it myself. Like the different trimming the roots that I did in the past, and just different cultivation and different experiments. I'm more than glad to attempt it myself, so you guys don't have to. If you guys have any questions on cultivation or extractions, also feel free to email me or comment on a video or something. I'm more than glad to help, even if you can't send me a donation, it's fine. Sometimes when I give ideas on different things to do or different methods, I sometimes get ideas just from even an unrelated topic, and it does help me out sometimes. So I don't feel the need that like a direct payment to helping relationship. Yes, I'm rambling a bit. If you guys have any TLC related ideas, I'd also be interested in that. I have literally zero experience with TLC. I've read about it quite a bit, but I learned that it doesn't cause the UV reaction or spotting isn't natural necessarily. There's a special plate and chemical they place on the plates, and I won't be having that, so I'll need to stain and just the process in general. But if you have a specific TLC idea, please share. In the future, I do want to do TLC on astrophytum and different other plants that I suspect may be active.